What can you do with just one day in Palisade, Colorado? Quite a lot, as it turns out. Join Randy and I as we spend an activity-filled day exploring one of Colorado's most charming small towns. We spend 2 nights in a thoughtfully renovated motel that strikes a perfect balance between comfort and character. We cruise a scenic Fruit and Wine Byway, sample some delicious local food and beverages, and venture into the stunning Colorado National Monument. From fresh flavors and scenic bike rides to epic landscapes and quirky history, this one-day Palisade adventure packs in a little bit of everything. Let's go. After a long day of driving, we arrived in Palisade on a Monday night, and the first thing we did was check into the Spoke and Vine. It's a charming boutique motor lodge that perfectly captures the town's laid-back, bike-friendly vibe. It was formerly the Mesa View Motel, and it was renovated and reopened in 2019 with fresh colors, a new name, modern updates, and a fun, cycling-inspired decor that gives it plenty of personality. We're in room 11 at the Spoke and Vine in Palisade. It's 2 queen beds. I'll pull out a little bit. Very cute. There is a sitting room that has a pocket door. The couch. Looks like there's extra linens right there, so this is probably a pull-out couch. And then a bed for a child or someone who would just like their own little private space. There's a TV. And then a fridge for personal use. I imagine it's empty. Yes. Hooks, and then bathroom that has just exactly what you need. They say that they're kind of like no frills, no nonsense, but it's super cute with bike themed decor. Love it. The motel has a nice beer garden, place to eat. There's a bar in the lobby, and you can bring your drinks out here and enjoy them. The motel's location is hard to beat. You're within walking distance of downtown, as well as beautiful Riverbend Park, and there's easy access to the Fruit and Wine Scenic Byway, which makes it an ideal home base for exploring the area. And an added bonus is breakfast is delivered to your room every morning. We just checked into the hotel, dropped our bags, and now we're walking to Palisade's Pizza and Pourhouse, I believe it's the Pourhouse. It's about 1 mile. We had a great dinner at the Palisade Pizza and Pourhouse. The restaurant uses flour imported from Italy, which supposedly makes the dough easier to tolerate for those with gluten sensitivities. The restaurant is very casual. You order and pick up at the counter, and there's plenty of indoor and outdoor seating. The salad was large enough for both of us to share twice, so spoiler alert, we eat it again for lunch the next day. And the pizza had generous toppings and a thick, fluffy edge that was like having a built-in breadstick with every slice. It was delicious. My favorite thing about the restaurant was the beer wall. When you place your order, you can open a tab with a credit card, and then you get a reusable tap card. You tap the card at the self-serve beverage station, and they have beer, wine, cider, cocktails, and then you pour as much or as little as you'd like. You're only charged for the amount that you pour. I love that you can sample a lot of different flavors without committing to a full glass. The Palisade Pizza and Pourhouse is definitely a spot that we'll come back to. After dinner, we walked back to the motel and got ready for day 1 proper.
At 7:30 a.m., per our request, the breakfast arrived at our door. You can choose to have breakfast delivered anytime between 7 a.m. and 10:30 a.m.
The hotel stay comes with yogurt, granola, seasonal fruit, and cherries are in season right now, and your choice of coffee or tea. You can choose half and half, almond milk, or milk for your coffee and tea. Looks great. Let's dig in. We are starting our morning at Riverbend Park. It was about a half a mile walk from the motel. Here's the canal right here. And we'll cross over and head to the park and the river.
We headed to Riverbend Park in the morning because the bike shop where we were renting bikes didn't open until 10 a.m. So we decided to take a stroll, and I'm glad we did. Riverbend Park is a beautiful park located next to the Colorado River, and it was a little more than half a mile, 0.7 mile, walk to the park from the motel.
I love the sound of water and looking at water, not so much being in the water. Let's see. The park has a pretty green space area with frisbee golf, and there's lots of people out with their pups exercising their dogs right along the river. Beautiful day in Palisade.
Next, we walked downtown to the Palisade Cycle and Shuttle shop to rent our bicycles. And I want to mention that one of the perks of Palisade is that it's very walkable. We were able to walk everywhere. We didn't have to drive our car at all, except when we headed out of Palisade, which was really nice.
We're downtown. We're headed to the Palisade Cycle and Shuttle to rent some bikes.
We rented 2 cruiser bikes, and the bikes were $45 each for the day. So you could have them starting at 10 a.m. all the way to 5 p.m. if you wanted them that long. And the price includes a helmet, lock, and basket to carry fruit or wine or whatever you find along your bike ride.
All right, we're starting our ride, mile 0, and we're on the East Orchard Mesa Loop. And there's a punchy hill. Where's right there? Here we go. That first hill is no joke, but it's worth it for the views. Hopefully it truly does level off in a moment.
One of the best ways to experience Palisade is by hopping on a bike and exploring the Fruit and Wine Byway. The route winds through vineyards and fruit orchards with stunning views of the mesa, the book cliffs, and the valley. Depending on the season, you'll see peach trees. Well, you'll see peach trees in bloom, cherry orchards, and grapevines stretching toward the horizon. There are 3 routes to select from, and they all have varying lengths. We rode a portion of the East Orchard Mesa Loop. We started at mile marker 0 and turned around at the Carlson Winery. It was about a 12-mile ride.
We stopped at Anita's fruit stand, pantry and produce, to get some cherries. Cherries are in season right now, which we just got some cherries. And there's all sorts of jam, salsa, all sorts of finds at the Anita farm stand. This is about mile 2 onto the Scenic Byway.
Along the route, you'll pass farm stands and wineries where you can stop and taste wine if you're a wine drinker. Most of the route is on public roads, so cyclists do need to share the roadway with cars. We were there on a Tuesday morning and traffic was pretty light, but I imagine it can get busier on the summer weekends. It was a beautiful ride, and I highly recommend it.
A surprise scenic view on the Scenic Byway, and that is Redneck Fantasy. Look at that.
We rode the bikes for a couple of hours and saw things that we would have missed if we had just been in a car.
We're back at the motel for a little lunch break out in the beer garden, and it's leftovers from our meal last night.
After lunch, we returned the bikes, and not far from the bike store, we saw a bakery and had to stop. The Slice of Life Bakery is known for its handmade breads, pastries, sandwiches, cookies, and other tempting treats. In fact, the delicious granola that was included with our free breakfast at the Spoke and Vine Motel comes from this bakery. And after tasting it, we knew we had to check the place out for ourselves. So when we saw it right next to the bike store, we thought, okay, now's the time. Brandy got the raspberry coffee cake sweet roll, and it was $3.50. I got the world famous chocolate chip cookie with walnuts, and it was $1.50. We had a quick treat at the bakery, and now we're headed to Colorado National Monument. Colorado National Monument was one of the biggest surprises of our trip. It is truly spectacular. The historic 23-mile Rimrock Drive is a scenic roadway that winds through some of the monument's most breathtaking scenery. The impressive Rimrock Drive was largely built during the Great Depression by workers from the Civilian Conservation Corps and the Works Progress Administration. Young, unmarried men who needed work found themselves on the project, and they labored hard to carve this remarkable road into the rugged landscape. They were paid $1 a day, plus room and board. Today, their hard work allows visitors to experience the monument's beauty from countless scenic pullouts and overlooks. You will drive through 3 historic tunnels, all built by some very hardworking individuals. The Visitor Center has a fantastic viewing deck with sweeping panoramic views, so don't miss stopping there. It's worth it. In Colorado National Monument, there are numerous overlooks and opportunities for short hikes and great photo ops.
And here is Independence Monument. And every July 4th, really talented climbers go to the top of Independence Monument and put an American flag up. And near the top, it's a really precarious climb because they have to do it like swing backwards. A bighorn sheep right on the side of the road.
After our drive through Colorado National Monument, we stopped in downtown Fruita to visit one of Colorado's strangest roadside attractions, the statue of Mike the Headless Chicken. It sits outside Aspen Street Coffee. For those who are not familiar with Mike the Headless Chicken, in 1945, a Fruita farmer was preparing chickens for market, and somehow one chicken named Mike survived the beheading. Part of his brainstem and jugular vein remained intact. Mike became a national sensation. People paid to see the famous headless chicken, and his story was even featured in Life magazine. Mike lived for another 18 months after the beheading. Today, Fruita embraces its quirky claim to fame with a statue honoring Mike and an annual Mike the Headless Chicken Festival that attracts visitors from near and far. Fruita has a super cute downtown area, and it's a place that I would like to explore more on our next trip. After our adventure, we returned to Palisade, cleaned up, and headed back downtown for dinner.
We're back from Colorado National Monument, and we have showered and recovered a bit, and now we're headed downtown for dinner.
We chose Fidel's for dinner, partly because it's owned by the same couple who run the Spoke and Vine Motel where we were staying, but mostly because they gave us a coupon for free chips and salsa, and we're always willing to follow a good coupon. The staff at the restaurant was very attentive, and the dishes were obviously made with fresh ingredients, and they were beautifully prepared. I will say that Randy and I tend to gravitate towards bolder flavors, and we found ourselves wishing for a little more spice and heat in both the salsa and our entrees. But one thing we loved was the outdoor patio. Even on a Tuesday evening, the place was buzzing with activity, which tells you it's a favorite among locals and visitors alike.
Outside the patio seating of Fidel's, we're waiting for our dinner. There's this tiny store. Jack, Ace, and Lola Tiny Store. They take Venmo or cash, and they sell little candy for $2, Lego figures for $5, guns for $10, and a cactus. Jack, Ace, and Lola's Tiny Store in Palisade, Colorado.
One day in Palisade simply wasn't enough. Between the orchards, fruit stands, wineries, restaurants, and scenic drives, there's far more to see and do than can comfortably fit into a single day. We barely scratched the surface. We would have loved to spend more time exploring the area's famous orchards, and we definitely want to come back during the peach harvest for a you-pick fruit tour. There are also several local food markets we didn't have time to visit. While Randy and I aren't big wine drinkers, Palisade is known as Colorado's wine country, and a wine tasting tour would be an absolute must for wine enthusiasts. Palisade has so much to offer. That's probably why it was voted the best small town in the West by USA Today for 2026. We can't wait to come back. On our way back to the Springs, we had one last adventure, and that was hiking to Hanging Lake. If you're interested in seeing that, I will link the video next. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe to follow along on our journeys. We would love to have you.